Today's episode is healthy by design. How about a life by design? How about whatever we design is what our life ends up being? And that's my belief system. And honestly, for years, I think I was relatively healthy by design, but it came from more of a vanity. I liked being thin. I liked looking good. Those were the things that drove me. And someone was asking me the other day about my philosophy with healthy by design. And when I felt a moment really impacted me where I thought, no way am I letting what's supposed to be happening to my body happen to my body. And I had my fourth child. And I can't remember how old he was, but let's just call it 6 months. And I was 33 and my mom was visiting, and my mom said literally something along the lines of, "Susan, you look frumpy, but that's okay. You're supposed to after 4 kids at this age." And I thought, no, not happening. And I think that was the first real moment for me when I thought society might tell me this, my mom might tell me this, but this is not going to be my truth. And that's what we're really going to talk a lot about today is there is truth to your body changes after having 4 children, right? There is truth to you get busier and you have less time for self. Those are all truths, but I chose to buy into the truth of I get to design my life and my health in the way that I choose to. And again, it's been a journey for me, and it started with I liked being thin, I liked looking fit, but it was more thin than fit for me, I'll tell you that. And then it became we have some diabetes in my family, we have high blood pressure, we have high cholesterol, and my sugars started to show up on the high side. And I remember going to my doctor and her saying the things I needed to do to change that. And one was I needed to start eating breakfast. And I never ate breakfast because thin was important, I felt like breakfast was opening the door. If I ate a healthy breakfast, it opened the door for me to eat all day. And that was my mindset. And she said, "Susan, you need breakfast." And she explained medically why, and I'm not going to bore you with the medical side of it today, why I needed to eat a healthy breakfast to start my day. And therefore, I would store less sugars and I would be healthier. So for 3 months, I went monthly to get my sugars checked, and I changed the way I ate and I followed what she said, and my sugars got to an acceptable level. And then I got to go back to 6 months checkups and then annual checkups at the doctors. And by the way, healthy by design for me includes regular doctor's visits. Like, how can we know if we're healthy or not healthy if we're not going to the doctor regularly? So that's part of my healthy by design. But again, I learned very early on that if I want to control this, if I want to avoid the negative impacts of diabetes that's in my family, I have to change my lifestyle now. And again, I was always relatively healthy. But as I got older, healthy began to change more. I always controlled my diet, my weight by not eating a lot of carbs. Went to a nutritionist 2 years ago. Had my trainer a couple years ago saying, "Wow, Susan, you're afraid of carbs." And they were not wrong about that. So them teaching me the healthy carbs that I could eat to fuel my body impacted my healthy by design journey. Always fitness. And again, okay, Jane Fonda, those of you that are my age, Jane Fonda she got me back in shape after a couple of pregnancies. So whether it was step aerobics, whether it was the gym with weightlifting, whether it was running, I always had something that I was doing. And I always had an accountability partner where it worked for them and it worked for me. And there were times I ran at 10 o'clock at night after all the kids were in bed. And there were times that we ran at 5 o'clock in the morning before anyone got up. Because guess what? Before cell phones, you can't call your friend's house at 5 a.m. and say, "Oops, I don't want to get out of bed." And you certainly aren't going to leave your friend outside your door at 5 a.m. not showing up. So I created a pattern where I made sure that I was working out with, running with, walking with the right person that would hold me accountable. So healthy by design. Remember when I spoke about character? It's fluid depending on where you're at in your life. And again, there are some hard character traits that we talked about, honesty, et cetera, et cetera. There has always been the trait in the desire to be healthy, to be fit, but it has to be fluid based on lifestyle. And then as I started to have children, get the car seat or the bike seat, right? Did a lot of bike riding, did a lot of bike pulling with the pool behind me so that they could too sit in the back, right? And then as they got on their bikes, they rode. And then as they could ride or drive or not drive or ride, but be able to perform on rollerblades, they would get rollerblades. I would get rollerblades. So I would make sure that whatever I was doing actively fit my lifestyle instead of allowing what was happening in my life at the time to make me walk away from exercise. But again, the journey to health has been more in the last couple of years, real health, than it was when I was younger and I was just trying to be fit and thin. So what does that look like? So we have to talk about age. And I've decided, and I still believe this, that my best years, my best pictures, my biggest muscles are still in my future, not in my past. And with that being said, there's a truth to menopause. There's a truth to how you feel, what happens to your body. But instead of allowing the truth of menopause to allow me to succumb to what I believe society accepts, which is thicker around the middle, heavier, bigger clothes, more aches, more pains, etc., I've chosen for menopause to change what I do. So here's the truth. You do get thicker around the middle. It is harder to control. Therefore, I need to eat the right carbs at the right time of day, and I need to eat the right protein at the right time of day to impact my body in a positive way. Here's another fun fact. I need to exercise more, not less. We all talk about how active we were as kids. We rode bikes. We did this in high school. Honestly, when people around me talk about high school or college or something in their past being amazing, I always think, oh, your amazing isn't in your future? Because my amazing is in my future. And that means I need to be more active at my age now than I was as a teenager. I need to be more active at my age now than before I had kids. So that means I work out 6 days a week. 6 days a week. And sometimes in the evening, I take long walks, right? And now my social activities include tennis lessons, and my social activities include a couple times a month doing a boxing class. So social has become active. Workouts have become more regular, 6 days a week. Up at 5 a.m., to the gym at 6. Thank you, Zero Gravity Fitness, for all you have done to impact. This weekend, I was with my kids at the beach, and I said, here we are. These are called obliques. 4 kids, and I have obliques. And I have them because I train regularly, and I also listen to people that are smarter than me. Yes, Leo, this means you're smarter than me, where fitness is concerned and where eating is concerned. And he said to me several months ago, Susan, you're really not going to impact your body the way you want to unless you get serious about your eating. And I was a pretty good eater, but I indulged on occasion and on occasion and on occasion, right? And then I decided, wait a minute, food is fuel. That's what food is. I can get my enjoyment from other things besides food. Food is fuel. So food is fuel, exercise is frequent, and healthy is by design. And the facts are your body does change. But with that knowledge, you have to change your activities. So that's what I do. Strength training, stretching. I hate stretching. I don't like yoga. I don't like being still. I don't like being quiet. But those are all things that I've had to adopt and adapt to because If you train as much as I do, you get aches and you get pains. And here's another fun fact. One of my friends the other day said, but Susan, doesn't your body ache more? And I said, you know what? You know why our bodies ache more? They don't ache because we're getting older. They ache because we've positioned our feet incorrectly all these years. I've walked on the outside of my foot instead of the inside of my foot. And you can see how my shoes wear, whether they're my heels or whether they're my tennis shoes, you can tell I don't walk correctly. So for me, working with a personal trainer, working with a sports chiropractor, working with a sports masseuse, see all these people that are in my life, they're in my life because they make me better physically. I choose them because I want to live healthy by design. So when I go to the sports chiropractor and Dr. Abby says to me, Susan, stand and do a squat. And she says, no, let's move your feet this way. And then I get that same information when I go to the gym and I'm with my trainer. And guess what? Years of standing incorrectly, years of squatting incorrectly, I am repairing the damage, and the aches and pains don't exist anymore. So do we ache and pain because we're getting older, or do we ache and pain because we've spent years treating our bodies incorrectly? And do we get an opportunity to repair that by the people we surround ourselves by, and by the people that we spend time with, and by the people that we're willing to listen to about our bodies? All of this is controllable. You can't convince me otherwise. High cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, all in my family, none of which impact me. It's because of how I eat and how I exercise and how often I do both of those things. So I really think that at the end of the day, my age has become so impactful for me and so powerful, because I said this when I talked about character, and this is the truth. I get to benefit this world, my family, the people that I pour into, and myself by the number of days that I've spent on this earth. So my age is no longer something that says you're changing negatively physically, Susan. My age is something that says, wow, you have another day on this earth in which you were blessed with the opportunity to learn and to grow and to pour into others. So my age equals wisdom. It doesn't equal thick around the middle. It doesn't equal any negative thing. It only equals something positive and the opportunity to share that. And I believe I have a requirement to stay healthy because I have so much wisdom that I'm earning and gaining every day. So to be impactful to the world and to be able to give back and to be generous, right? Those that much have been given, much is expected. So to live by that, doesn't it make sense that I would stay healthy by design to be able to have yet another day and another day to learn, to grow, to share? And that's what, for me, healthy by design means. And with that being said, I want to also impact people, and I love people from where they are. So if you don't exercise at all and you think, wow, I'm not able to do 6 days a week. I don't think you go from 0 to 6 days a week. I think you go from 0 to maybe 2 days a week a walk. We hear people all the time that say, I'm going to run a marathon. I'm not a runner, but I'm going to run a marathon. How about you just start going for a regular walk, right? How about you add to your walk? I always say when I run, and I'm not a runner, don't really enjoy running, but when I get into a kick where I feel like I want to start running, just one more mailbox. Just run one more mailbox every time I run. Just a little bit further. My run's going to be on Wednesday than it was on Monday. That's all I need to do, because guess what? I'm not competing against anybody but myself. And I think it's also really important to understand that healthy by design means you're competing with self, not with others. But let's pay attention to what others are doing and see and allow ourselves to measure ourselves against them to see if we need to improve and need to do better. But I'm not racing against anybody but Susan. I'm not fighting against anything but menopause, right? I'm not fighting against anything but age. And I've learned how to use age to work for my life instead of working against my life. And it's also an opportunity. I've spent my life typically thinner than I've spent my life typically thinner than a lot of people in the room. And I will tell you, when I was young, 20, and I worked at the bank, and someone very heavy set brought a very buttery pound cake into the office to share, and I only had a small piece of that pound cake. She looked at me and said, "Hey, Susan, only dogs like bones." And I remember feeling so insulted and thinking to myself, that's not okay to say that about me. I shouldn't judge other people where they stand and where they sit physically, where their journey is in their lives, but people also shouldn't reversely discriminate or reversely judge me for appearing too thin. So I just caution everybody on both sides of the fence, healthy or unhealthy, let's not judge and let's not throw stones at people. And I think that that's really, really very important for everybody to hear that today. But throughout my life, I have been judged for being thin, being fit, not eating enough. And I've healthily eaten my whole life. Again, I've had a couple issues where I wasn't eating carbs and I needed to adjust. But with that being said, I've learned to not boast about where I'm at physically, but I've also learned that if I'm at the table with someone that's overeating, I don't need to overeat also. And I don't need to boast and say, well, look at what I'm eating and look at what you're eating, but I can quietly choose my eating habits and feel good about them and not have to apologize because who I'm surrounded with. You know, we can all accept that, right? If we talk about drinking or if we talk about drugs, but how about with food? Let's let everybody eat what they choose to eat. And let's not encourage people to overeat. And we do that a lot because it feels good. Go ahead and eat the cake. If you have a friend that you know is trying to watch their weight, how about saying, let's not have cake and let's go for a walk? So how can we be on the right side of helping others be the best version of themselves? How can we walk on the outside of not apologizing for who we choose to be and not allowing people to poke holes at our lifestyle because it's a healthy one? And I've had to learn that, and that's been a journey for me because there were a lot of times, especially in my profession, where I do a lot of eating out, where I would sit across the table, especially with a female, not necessarily a man, but with another female that maybe was heavier than I am, that would be indulging, and I would feel, in order to make her feel good, and this is unspoken, she never told me she needed me to make her feel good about what she was eating, but I would eat what she was eating to feel like I wouldn't want to make her feel badly about overindulging. First of all, it's my judgment that she's overindulging. Second of all, it's my choice not to overindulge, and I don't need to take on anyone's feelings about what they're doing. So I've learned to order what I want to order and just do it quietly and just to smile and say, no, thank you, I won't have dessert. Now, I will tell you, I've unpacked tables where they're like, Susan's here, no one's going to have dessert. And I just smile and say, you all can have dessert if you'd like to. So I do believe I've helped make people healthier and more aware by deciding that I'm just going to be who I need to be. And that's worked really well for me. At the gym, I have a workout partner, and there are some things that she can do better than I can do, and some things that I can do better that she can do. And learning that whatever side of that you're on, it's okay. I think that there is a grace to being able to be better than someone at something and not be arrogant or boastful, but also not apologize it away. Take the compliment, smile, say thank you, instead of discounting yourself because someone else around you maybe can't do what you're doing. Equally, being with somebody that can do more than I can do, that can run further, that has stronger legs, and not diminishing myself and remembering what I said a minute ago, which is I'm only competing against myself. But I need everybody to hear today, healthy by design is on both sides of that fence. Learning how to feel good and proud about who I am when I'm winning, and learning to feel good and proud about who I am when I'm losing. When we do hikes, and I've done 3 excessive hikes, 12 people in one hike, 6 people in the other hike, I always feel like the weakest link. Like my body's not as strong. I can't walk as fast. I always end up with some kind of injury, some kind of ache that starts in a hip and works its way down to my ankle because, by the way, everything is very, very connected in our bodies. That is so true. And I've always felt like the weakest link. And I don't like being the weakest link. But I decided I'm not a trailblazer. I am more somebody that can follow behind, watch the person's steps in front of me, and master the steps in a way that works for my body. And I believe that's how I also have learned to live my life. But the first hike, when I was 50, in New Hampshire, 3 days of hiking, we had snow, we had wind chill factors, we had rain, and it was aggressive, the most aggressive thing I've done. And by the way, I've had 4 babies. And the entire trip, there were times when I was in the front, not often, times I was in the middle, some, and times I was at the end, the most often. And I had to say to myself, Susan West, there are people that won't even get on the plane. You got on the plane and you're here. Just give your best. Such a traumatic thing for me to reconcile not being the best, not being the fastest, but in some moments being the worst, and in other moments my body just not cooperating. So learning to adapt, learning not to apologize the whole time, learning to give my best, and learning that my best is enough, and then leaving and going back to the gym saying, okay, I didn't do this as well as I wanted to. What can I do to be better prepared? Again, thus the sports chiropractor when I need her, thus the sports masseuse when I need her. So massages have become a regular part of my lifestyle. Rolling and stretching and Pilates and the reformer, regular part of my lifestyle. So instead of saying, I have this ache, I have this pain, I can't do this anymore, I do it, but I learn how to fix my body. Remember what I said? Healthy by design. But I also have decided I'm not a runner. Anya Nietzsche, one of my best friends, wants me to run with her regularly, wants me to do races with her. And at first I felt very bad about that, but now I say, no, thank you. I don't want to be a runner. And every now and then I can, run a mile, maybe run a mile and a half. And then I decide I don't want to be a runner. And that's okay. So I also think healthy by design is designing something that works for me to challenge me, to make me better, and to listen to the experts. And I need experts in my life, and that's what's really important for me. Another thing, and I know this will be controversial, some people do 75 hard. Some people will get up and say, I paid my dues today. I don't do either one of those things. And for some people, they work. And if it works for you, right, you're healthy by design. For me, I've just made it a lifestyle. It is just a lifestyle. And by the way, back to menopause, the hot flashes are real. And the worst thing about a hot flash when you're in menopause is you can't control it. And the more upset you get about it, the more it happens. And when you're in front of other people and it happens, you think, do I tell them? Do I say anything out loud? Do they notice? But when it happens at the gym, I'm just like, hey, look at me. I am sweating. I am working hard, right? And at night, when you get the hot flashes and you can't sleep, we need sleep, right? Healthy by design, eating right, fueling your body correctly, exercising correctly with all the forms of exercise I've talked about, maintenance I've talked about. Sleep is so important. So I need to go to bed earlier because I get less sleep because of menopause, because it's real. So I get in bed earlier. I learn ways to relax myself and calm myself so that I don't get anxious about missing sleep. And I think it's really important to understand the facts are there. If someone gets injured, the facts are there. How are you going to get through the other side of your injury to make sure you can get back to the caliber of training that you need to be at? So of recent, conversation at the gym is, what's next? What's next for me? It's building more muscle. Not crazy muscle, but more muscle. How do we do that? So now we're working on a plan. What does that plan look like? More muscle. How do we do that? How does that work for Susan, healthy by design? And I'm going to talk about this finally. Probably one of the best moments for me was I was having a very difficult time, the worst time in my career, which was also impacting my family. And I was getting up at 5 a.m. every morning, getting to the gym at 6. And in the gym, that box that you have to jump on, and I couldn't do it. And every time I'd go to jump, mentally, my body just wouldn't do it. So the trainer, I had 2 different trainers at the time, Matt and Leo, would both work with me. Leo would stand, let me hold his shoulder, I'd jump. Matt would stand and let me jump next to it to show me that, Susan, you're clearing it, it's not a problem. And I just still couldn't get to the other side of it. And one morning I came into the gym and Matt was there, and Matt put the box in the middle of the gym. And I walk in and there's the box in the middle of the gym. And he said, we're not leaving until you jump on the box. I still have the video. I jumped on the box unassisted 10 times, like boom, boom, hard jump, aggressive jump. And I left the gym that day and I said to myself, like, world, what do you got for me? Or I guess I said to the world through myself, what do you got? Because today my mind had convinced my body it couldn't do something. And I was able to change my mind to be so powerful. My body followed its lead and jumped on this box 10 times. So world, what do you have for me? And whatever you have, I can accomplish. And in that moment, I realized I'm up at 5 a.m. every morning like clockwork. I'm in the gym by 6. And by the way, bed made, house clean, everything left behind me in a very organized fashion. And I have worked out, showered, and changed, and in my vehicle with my Starbucks coffee before a lot of people even get out of bed. World, what do you have for me? So there's one lesson of, I hope, many that you've already heard today. But let me say something else to you. This was 3 or 4 years ago. And just yesterday, Leo brought the box back out. And this one's bigger, by the way, 20 inches, and has me jumping on this box. And he really just went back to the basics for me. Form, arms back, arms up, use them to power you. And I couldn't. And then I did it again 10 times. And I left the gym very aware that I need to have this box in my life regularly, because I need to regularly teach my mind and my muscle memory that I can jump on that box. So my goal is now to do that regularly enough where it doesn't even become a challenge for me, because I'm going to train my mind and my body that it can, on command, jump on that box. And maybe we even go to 24 inches. And maybe I either take that ball and catch it and throw it while I'm jumping on the box. And I can climb a rope. And Christian Plasica, I'll give you a shout out, because he was speaking and he talked about taking the stairs, right? Taking the stairs, don't take the elevator. So this is what I'd say, and this is what I'll close out with today. Take the stairs, not the elevator. Climb the rope. Don't take the stairs. Climb the rope. Do your best physically. Come up with a plan no matter what your age is. Your best pictures, your best health, your best bikini is in your future, because I know mine is. And whatever your goals, they don't have to be the same as mine. But I would suggest, and I'd highly recommend, that you create some goals that make you better physically and healthy by your design. Because whatever you are tomorrow, own it. It's your design. Whatever the facts are, and again, we all have facts, right? We have hereditary issues, genetic issues, we have life. Whatever the facts are, adjust your habits to those facts to become the best version of yourself that you can be. So healthy by design, aging with wisdom and grace, and learning how to be a better version of myself while exemplifying that in all I do, so that the people that see me want to be a better version of themselves as well. I trust you've enjoyed this podcast, you've enjoyed this episode, and that you'll be better. And what I constantly need, is to hear from you. What can I do to help you be better, and what can you do to help me be better? I'm looking forward to hearing from you once again on this podcast.